Chapter 1: The Chance Encounter. The night of my art gallery opening was supposed to be the pinnacle of my career, the moment I had dreamed of since I first picked up a paintbrush. Instead, it felt like the universe had played a cruel joke on me. The gallery was almost empty, save for a few acquaintances who politely glanced at my work before drifting away to the refreshments. My heart sank as I watched the clock, each ticking second mocking my hopes and aspirations. I stood by one of my favorite pieces, a vibrant, abstract painting that I had poured my soul into, wondering if it was all a mistake. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this world. My best friend and roommate, Mia, was bustling around trying to keep my spirits up. She was a nurse with an unfailing optimism that I envied deeply. "Lily, don't worry," she said, handing me a glass of wine. "It's just the first night. Things will pick up." I forced a smile and took a sip, but the wine tasted bitter against my disappointment. Just as I was about to resign myself to the dismal turnout, the gallery door opened, and a tall, impeccably dressed man walked in. He had an air of confidence and sophistication that immediately drew my attention. "Who is that?" I whispered to Mia. She glanced over and shrugged. "No idea, but he looks important." The man wandered through the gallery, taking his time with each painting. When he reached mine, he paused for a long moment, studying it intently. My heart raced as I watched him, a mix of anxiety and curiosity bubbling inside me. Finally, he turned and walked directly towards me. Up close, he was even more striking, with piercing blue eyes and a smile that seemed both genuine and charming. "Hi," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Ethan Blake. Your work is incredible." I shook his hand, feeling a rush of warmth at his compliment. "Thank you. I'm Lily Harper." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Lily," he said, still holding my hand for a moment longer than necessary. I couldn't take my eyes off that painting over there. It's mesmerizing. My cheeks flushed. "That one is special to me. I'm glad you like it." We chatted for a while, and I found myself drawn to his easy conversation and genuine interest in my art. He asked thoughtful questions about my inspiration and process, making me feel seen and appreciated in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. As the evening wore on, more people trickled in, but my focus remained on Ethan. He eventually purchased the painting he admired, and we exchanged contact details. It was a glimmer of hope in an otherwise disappointing night, a sign that maybe, just maybe, things were starting to look up. After he left, Mia came over with a knowing smile. "Looks like you made quite an impression." "He's just a guy who liked my painting," I said, trying to play it cool. "Sure," she teased, "but I saw the way he looked at you, and the way you looked at him." I couldn't deny the flutter of excitement in my chest. Meeting Ethan had turned what could have been a disastrous night into something unforgettable. As I cleaned up the gallery with Mia, I couldn't help but replay our conversation in my mind, wondering what the future might hold. That night, as I lay in bed, I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts swirling. Could Ethan be more than just a chance encounter? I didn't know, but for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of optimism, and that was enough to keep the dream alive. The days following the gallery opening were a blur of mixed emotions. On one hand, the turnout had been far from what I'd hoped for, but on the other, the memory of Ethan Blake and his genuine interest in my art buoyed my spirits. Mia, ever the supportive friend, kept reminding me that every artist has to start somewhere and that things would get better. I clung to her optimism like a lifeline. A few days later, I received a text from Ethan. My heart skipped a beat when I saw his name flash on my screen. "Ethan. Hey, Lily, it's Ethan. I'm still thinking about that painting. Would you like to grab a coffee sometime and chat more about your work?" I stared at the message for a moment, a mixture of excitement and nervousness washing over me. Then, taking a deep breath, I typed out a response. "Lily, hi, Ethan. I'd love that. How about tomorrow afternoon? We agreed to meet at a cozy little cafe downtown, a favorite spot of mine." As I walked in the next day, I spotted him immediately. He was seated by the window, looking effortlessly stylish in a casual suit, his attention focused on a book in his hands. When he saw me, he stood up and greeted me with that same warm smile. "Lily, great to see you," he said, pulling out a chair for me. "I hope you don't mind. I got us a couple of cappuccinos." "That's perfect, thank you," I replied, taking a seat. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and I felt a sense of comfort settle over me. We fell into easy conversation, discussing everything from my artistic process to his experiences in the banking world. I learned that Ethan wasn't just successful. He was genuinely passionate about his work, and he spoke about it with a fervor that reminded me of how I felt about painting. I've always believed that art and finance aren't so different, he mused, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. Both require vision, creativity, and a lot of hard work. I never thought of it that way, I said, intrigued. I guess I always saw them as two completely separate worlds. Ethan smiled. Maybe that's why we're so fascinated by each other's worlds. As the afternoon turned into evening, I felt a connection growing between us. It was more than just mutual interest. It was as if we were kindred spirits, each finding something in the other that we'd been missing. When we finally parted ways, I couldn't help but feel that this was the beginning of something significant. Back at my apartment, Mia was eager to hear all the details. So, how was it? She asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. It was amazing, I admitted, unable to keep the smile off my face. He's not just some banker. He's smart, passionate, and he genuinely cares about my art. Maya beamed. I'm so happy for you, Lily. It sounds like you two really hit it off. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and I saw each other more often. He took me to art exhibitions, introduced me to his friends, and even attended a couple of my painting sessions, watching in awe as I brought my visions to life on canvas. Each day, I found myself falling more for him, captivated by his intelligence, his kindness, and the way he made me feel special. But amidst all the joy, a small voice in the back of my mind kept reminding me of the differences between our worlds. Could a struggling artist and a successful banker truly build a future together? One evening, as Ethan and I walked through a park, enjoying the cool breeze and the sound of leaves rustling, he stopped and turned to me, a serious expression on his face. Lily, there's something I need to tell you, he began, taking my hand in his. I know we come from different worlds, and I've been thinking a lot about how we can make this work. I held my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't care about the differences, he continued, his eyes locking onto mine. All I know is that I want to be with you. We'll figure out the rest together. Relief and happiness flooded through me, and I squeezed his hand tightly. I feel the same way, Ethan. I want to be with you too. As we stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, I realized that this chance encounter had turned into something beautiful and unexpected. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I felt ready to face it with hope and love by my side. Chapter 2: Blossoming Romance. The weeks that followed felt like a whirlwind of new experiences and emotions. My life, once confined to my small apartment and art studio, expanded in ways I hadn't anticipated. Ethan and I grew closer with each passing day, our bond strengthening as we navigated the nuances of our relationship. Ethan introduced me to his world of finance, a realm I had always regarded as cold and uninviting. Yet, through his eyes, I began to see the art in it, the intricate dance of numbers, the strategy, the creativity required to navigate its complexities. One evening, he invited me to a charity gala organized by his firm. It was a grand affair, held in a luxurious ballroom with chandeliers casting a warm glow over the elegantly dressed attendees. As we walked in, I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. I was used to the casual, bohemian atmosphere of art galleries and studios, not the polished, high society events of the financial elite. But Ethan sensed my discomfort and squeezed my hand reassuringly. Just be yourself, Lily, he whispered in my ear. You belong here just as much as anyone else. We mingled with his colleagues, and I quickly found myself engaged in fascinating conversations. Ethan's friend and colleague, Henry Adams, was particularly intriguing. A sharp-witted man with a dry sense of humor, he had a way of putting people at ease. Over glasses of champagne, we discussed everything from art to economics. I must say, Ethan has been quite taken with your work, Henry said, glancing at Ethan with a teasing smile. It's a nice change to see him so passionate about something other than mergers and acquisitions. Ethan chuckled, his arm around my waist. What can I say? Lily's art has opened my eyes to a whole new world. As the evening progressed, I met more of Ethan's friends, including Samantha Pierce, a strikingly beautiful woman with an air of confidence that bordered on arrogance. She was a rival banker and, as I later learned, Ethan's ex-girlfriend. Her presence stirred a mix of emotions in me: curiosity, jealousy, and a twinge of insecurity. "Ethan, darling?" Samantha purred as she approached us, her eyes flicking to me with thinly veiled disdain. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your lovely companion?" Ethan's grip on my waist tightened slightly. "Samantha, this is Lily Harper, an incredibly talented artist. Lily, this is Samantha, an old friend from work." "Charmed," Samantha said, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Ethan speaks very highly of you." "Nice to meet you," I replied, trying to keep my tone polite. As the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that Samantha was watching us, her gaze lingering a little too long. When Ethan excused himself to speak with another colleague, Samantha seized the opportunity. "You know, Lily," she began, her voice low and conspiratorial. "Ethan has always been a bit of a romantic, but the banking world is demanding. I hope you're prepared for what that entails." Her words were laced with a warning, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Before I could respond, Ethan returned, his presence immediately dispelling the tension. "Everything okay?" he asked, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. "Of course," Samantha said smoothly, flashing a smile. "Just girl talk." As we left the gala, I couldn't help but replay the conversation in my mind. Ethan noticed my silence and gently asked, "What's on your mind?" I hesitated before speaking. "It's just Samantha. She seems to think our worlds are too different for this to work." Ethan stopped walking and turned to face me, his expression serious. "Lily, don't let her get to you. She's just trying to stir up trouble. What matters is how we feel about each other, not what anyone else thinks." I nodded, taking comfort in his words, but the seeds of doubt had been planted. In the following days, Ethan and I continued to grow closer, despite the lingering unease Samantha had introduced. He showed me his office, a sleek, modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a stunning view of the city. I introduced him to my favorite art spots, small, hidden galleries that showcased up-and-coming artists. Our lives began to intertwine in ways that felt both exciting and natural. One weekend, we decided to escape the city and head to a charming little town by the coast. It was the perfect getaway, filled with long walks on the beach, cozy dinners at local bistros, and lazy mornings in a quaint bed and breakfast. It was during this trip that Ethan shared more about his past and his family, opening up to me in ways he hadn't before. "My parents always pushed me to excel," he said one evening as we sat by a bonfire on the beach. "They wanted me to have a stable, successful career. But sometimes I wonder if I chose banking because it was what they wanted, not what I truly wanted." I reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "Do you regret it?" He shook his head. "No, I've found fulfillment in it, especially now that I'm using my skills to help others through my foundation. But meeting you has made me realize there's more to life than just success and stability." We sat in comfortable silence, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore soothing our thoughts. In that moment, I felt a deep sense of connection and understanding between us. As we returned to the city, our relationship felt stronger than ever. However, the complexities of merging our worlds were becoming more apparent. Despite our love for each other, the differences in our backgrounds and social circles sometimes created friction. Yet, each time we faced a challenge, we emerged more committed to making it work. But just as I began to feel secure in our relationship, another twist was about to unfold, one that would test our trust and love in ways we never expected. Chapter 3: Seeds of Doubt. Returning from the coastal town, I felt a renewed sense of optimism about our relationship. Yet the city brought back all the complexities and uncertainties we had temporarily escaped. Despite Ethan's reassurances, the words of Samantha lingered in my mind, casting a shadow over my thoughts. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day at the studio, I decided to surprise Ethan by visiting his office. I thought it would be a nice gesture, showing him a glimpse of my support in his world. As I walked into the grand building, feeling slightly out of place, I was greeted by the receptionist who, recognizing me from previous visits, kindly directed me to Ethan's office. When I arrived, I found Ethan engrossed in a meeting with his colleagues, including Samantha. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I could see them deep in discussion, their body language serious and intense. I hesitated, unsure if I should interrupt. Instead, I decided to wait in the lounge area, picking up a magazine to pass the time. After what felt like an eternity, the meeting finally ended. Ethan stepped out, looking surprised but pleased to see me. However, Samantha followed close behind, her presence instantly reminding me of her earlier warnings. "Lily, this is a nice surprise," Ethan said, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. "What brings you here?" "I wanted to see you and maybe grab dinner together if you're free," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. "That sounds perfect," he said, but before we could leave, Samantha approached us. "Ethan, about that proposal," she started, but then noticed me standing there. "Oh, Lily, I didn't see you. Are you joining us for the meeting?" Ethan shook his head. "No, we were just about to head out. We'll discuss the proposal tomorrow, Samantha." She gave a tight smile and nodded. "Of course. Have a good evening." As we walked out, I couldn't help but feel the weight of her words. Once we were alone, I turned to Ethan. "What was that about?" Ethan sighed. "Just work. Samantha and I were discussing a new client proposal. It's nothing for you to worry about." I nodded, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Over the next few days, I found myself growing increasingly insecure. My art suffered as I spent more time worrying about Ethan and Samantha's interactions. I tried to shake it off, but the nagging feeling persisted. One afternoon, as I was working in my studio, Mia walked in, her cheerful presence a welcome distraction. "Hey, Lily, how's it going?" I forced a smile. "It's okay, just trying to finish this piece." She sensed my unease and sat down next to me. "What's really going on?" I hesitated before spilling my concerns about Samantha. Mia listened patiently, her expression thoughtful. "Lily, you need to talk to Ethan about this. Keeping it inside will only make things worse." She was right. That evening, I decided to confront Ethan about my fears. We sat down in his apartment, the city lights twinkling outside the windows. "Ethan, I need to talk to you about something," I began, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's about Samantha. I can't help but feel like there's more to her intentions than just work." Ethan looked taken aback but didn't interrupt. I continued, "She made some comments at the gala that have been bothering me. And seeing how close you two are at work, it's hard not to feel insecure." Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Lily, Samantha and I have a complicated history, but it's in the past. She can be difficult, but my feelings for you are genuine. There's nothing going on between us." I wanted to believe him, but the doubt still lingered. "I trust you, Ethan, but I need to know that there's no reason for me to worry." He took my hands in his, looking into my eyes. "I promise you, Lily, there's nothing to worry about. I'll talk to Samantha and make it clear where things stand." His words reassured me, but part of me still felt uneasy. As the days went by, Ethan made an effort to be more open and transparent about his interactions with Samantha. However, the strain on our relationship was palpable. Then, one evening, Ethan invited me to a small gathering at his apartment, hoping to lift my spirits. Mia joined us, along with Ethan's friend Henry and a few other colleagues. The atmosphere was relaxed, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of normalcy returning. As the night progressed, Henry struck up a conversation with Mia, and they hit it off immediately. Watching them laugh and flirt, I felt a pang of happiness for my friend. Maybe things were starting to look up after all. But just as I began to relax, Samantha arrived, uninvited and unannounced. The room fell silent as she made her way over to Ethan, a smug smile on her face. "Ethan, I need to talk to you. It's urgent," she said, completely ignoring me. Ethan frowned. "Samantha, this is not the time. We're having a private gathering." She glanced around the room, her eyes landing on me with a look of disdain. "It can't wait." Reluctantly, Ethan followed her into another room. The tension in the air was palpable, and I felt my heart sink. Mia noticed and came over to me, offering a comforting presence. Minutes later, Ethan returned, looking frustrated. "I'm sorry about that. She just needed some information for a project." I nodded, but the doubt gnawed at me. The evening continued, but the earlier lightheartedness had been replaced by a sense of unease. After everyone left, Ethan and I sat down, exhausted and emotionally drained. "Lily, I know this is hard," he said, taking my hand, "but we can't let Samantha come between us. I care about you too much to let that happen." "I know," I replied softly, "but it's difficult not to feel insecure when she's constantly around." Ethan sighed. "I'll talk to her again. Make it clear that she needs to respect our boundaries. The days that followed were challenging, with Samantha's presence still looming over our relationship. But then, something unexpected happened that shifted everything. I received a call from a prominent art critic who had seen my work at the gallery opening. He wanted to feature my paintings in a well-known art magazine. The news was a much-needed boost to my confidence, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Ethan was thrilled for me, celebrating my success with genuine pride. We decided to take a short trip to celebrate, hoping to reconnect and strengthen our bond away from the city's pressures. As we drove to a picturesque countryside inn, I felt a sense of hope returning. We spent the days exploring the beautiful landscapes, enjoying each other's company without any distractions. It was a blissful escape, reminding us why we had fallen in love in the first place. But upon our return, the reality of our different worlds hit us once again. Ethan's work demands increased, and I found myself more involved in my art, preparing for the magazine feature. Our time together became scarce, and the strain started to show. One evening, as I was working late in my studio, I received a message from Samantha. It was a photo of Ethan and her from years ago, with a caption that read, "Some things never change." My heart pounded as I stared at the message, anger and hurt bubbling up inside me. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I stormed into Ethan's apartment, holding up my phone. "What is this, Ethan?" He looked at the photo, his face turning pale. "Lily, it's not what it looks like. That was from years ago, before you and I even met. Then why is she sending it to me now?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "Is she trying to tell me something?" Ethan's expression hardened. "She's trying to manipulate you, Lily. She's trying to drive a wedge between us." "Well, it's working," I snapped, tears streaming down my face. "I can't keep doing this, Ethan. I can't keep feeling like I'm second place in your life." Ethan reached for me, but I stepped back. "Lily, please, you are the most important person in my life. I love you." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. "Then prove it, Ethan. Show me that you're willing to fight for us." The pain in his eyes was evident, but so was the determination. "I will, Lily. I promise." As I left his apartment that night, I felt a mix of hope and fear. Our love was being tested, and I could only hope that it would survive the trials ahead. The seeds of doubt had been planted, but it was up to us to nurture our trust and love, ensuring they would grow strong and resilient. Chapter 4: Confrontation and Confession. The days that followed were filled with tension and uncertainty. Ethan and I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but the strain was evident. Our conversations were often interrupted by the unspoken presence of Samantha, and I found myself questioning every interaction they had. Despite Ethan's reassurances, the doubt lingered. One evening, after another long day at the studio, I received a call from Mia. Her voice was urgent. "Lily, you need to come to Ethan's office right now." Panic surged through me. "What's wrong?" "It's Samantha. She's causing a scene, and it's about you." Without another word, I grabbed my coat and rushed out. As I neared the office building, my mind raced with possibilities. What could Samantha possibly want now? When I arrived, I found a small crowd gathered near the conference room. Ethan stood at the center, his face a mask of frustration and anger. Samantha was there too, looking triumphant and defiant. "Lily," Ethan said, relief flooding his features when he saw me. "I'm glad you're here." Samantha turned to face me, her eyes glittering with malice. "Well, if it isn't the artist, I was just telling Ethan how unprofessional it is for him to mix his personal and professional lives." "What are you talking about?" I demanded, my voice shaking with anger. She smirked. "I have evidence that Ethan has been using company resources to support your art career. It's a serious conflict of interest." Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady. "That's a lie, Samantha. You're trying to sabotage our relationship." "Am I?" she retorted, holding up a folder. "These documents say otherwise." I felt my heart sink as I looked at the folder. Ethan took it from her, flipping through the pages. His expression grew darker with each passing second. "These are fabricated," he said, throwing the folder onto the table. "This is just another one of your schemes." Samantha's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. "Believe what you want, but the board will want an explanation." Unable to contain my anger any longer, I stepped forward. "Why are you doing this, Samantha? Why can't you just leave us alone?" Her eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment I saw a flicker of something: jealousy, regret, or perhaps just bitterness. Because, Lily, Ethan was mine first, and he belongs with someone who understands his world, not some naive artist. The words stung, but I refused to let her see my pain. You don't get to decide who Ethan is with. He does, and so do I. Ethan moved to stand beside me, his presence a source of strength. Samantha, this ends now. I've tolerated your behavior for too long. If you can't respect my relationship with Lily, then you're no longer welcome in my life or my company. Samantha's face contorted with rage. You'll regret this, Ethan. Without another word, she stormed out of the office. The tension in the room dissipated, but the damage was done. I turned to Ethan, tears welling in my eyes. Ethan, is any of what she said true? He shook his head vehemently. No, Lily. I would never do anything to jeopardize your career or mine. She's just trying to drive us apart. I wanted to believe him, but the doubt lingered. We need to be honest with each other, Ethan. Completely honest. He nodded, his expression sincere. I promise you, Lily, no more secrets. Over the next few days, Ethan took steps to distance himself from Samantha, both personally and professionally. He filed a complaint with the board, explaining her actions and providing evidence of her manipulations. It was a difficult process, but it was necessary to protect our relationship. Meanwhile, I threw myself into my art, preparing for the upcoming magazine feature. It was a welcome distraction, but my thoughts often drifted to Ethan and the challenges we faced. I knew we had to confront our issues head-on if we wanted to move forward. One evening, as we sat in his apartment, Ethan turned to me with a serious expression. Lily, there's something I need to tell you. My heart pounded in my chest. What is it? He took a deep breath. Samantha and we had a complicated relationship. It wasn't just about work. We dated for a while, but it ended badly. She never really let go, and I think that's why she's been so determined to interfere with us. I nodded, trying to process the information. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? I was afraid, he admitted, his voice filled with regret. I didn't want to give her more power over us, but I realize now that keeping it from you was a mistake. I appreciated his honesty, but it didn't erase the pain. Ethan, I need to know that you're committed to us, that you're willing to fight for our relationship. He reached for my hand, his grip firm and reassuring. I am, Lily. I love you, and I want us to be together. We'll get through this, I promise. As we sat there, holding each other, I felt a sense of hope. It wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to fight for our love. Samantha's attempts to tear us apart had only made us stronger, more determined to build a future together. But as we would soon discover, the challenges were far from over. Our love would be tested in ways we couldn't have imagined, forcing us to confront our deepest fears and insecurities. And through it all, we would have to decide if our love was strong enough to withstand the trials ahead. Chapter 5: Trials and Triumph. The fallout from Samantha's confrontation lingered, but Ethan and I were determined to move forward. We spent more time together, communicating openly and rebuilding the trust that had been shaken. Ethan's transparency about his past with Samantha helped me understand the depth of his commitment to us, and I felt a renewed sense of confidence in our relationship. As the date for my magazine feature approached, I threw myself into my work with a fervor. The feature was a significant milestone, and I wanted everything to be perfect. Ethan was incredibly supportive, often stopping by my studio with coffee and words of encouragement. One evening, as I was putting the finishing touches on a painting, Ethan arrived with a surprise. Close your eyes, he said, a mischievous grin on his face. I did as he asked, and when I opened my eyes, he was holding a beautifully wrapped box. What's this? I asked, curiosity piqued. Open it and see, he replied. Inside the box was a set of high-quality art supplies, brushes, paints, canvases, all meticulously chosen, my eyes filled with tears. Ethan, this is amazing. Thank you. I know how much this feature means to you, he said, pulling me into a hug. I wanted to give you something to show how proud I am of you. His gesture touched me deeply, reinforcing my belief that we could overcome anything together. As the days passed, we grew closer, our relationship stronger than ever. But just as things seemed to be settling, another storm was brewing. One afternoon, I received a call from the magazine editor. Lily, we have a problem, he said, his tone serious. There are rumors circulating about your work. Some are saying that you've been receiving undue financial support from Ethan Blake, which could undermine the authenticity of your success. My heart sank. What? That's not true. Ethan has supported me, but he's never interfered with my work. We believe you, Lily, but these rumors could damage your reputation. We need to address this head on. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Samantha was behind this. Her attempts to sabotage my career and relationship had escalated. I felt a surge of anger and determination. I'll handle it, I said firmly. Thank you for letting me know. When I told Ethan about the call, he was livid. This has gone too far, Lily. We need to put an end to this. We decided to confront Samantha directly. Ethan arranged a meeting with her, and I insisted on being there. As we walked into her office, the tension was palpable. Samantha looked up, surprised but not entirely unprepared. Ethan, Lily, what a surprise, she said, her tone icy. We need to talk, Ethan said, his voice firm. These rumors about Lily, this needs to stop. Samantha leaned back in her chair, a smug smile playing on her lips. Rumors? I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't play games, Samantha, I interjected. You know exactly what you're doing. You're trying to ruin my career and our relationship. She shrugged. Prove it. Ethan stepped forward, anger radiating from him. This is your last warning, Samantha. If you don't stop, we'll take legal action. Her expression faltered for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. Fine, but remember, Ethan, you chose this. As we left her office, I felt a mix of relief and apprehension. Confronting her had been necessary, but I knew she wouldn't back down easily. However, Ethan and I were united, ready to face whatever came next. In the following weeks, we worked tirelessly to counteract the rumors. The magazine editor, understanding the gravity of the situation, published a piece highlighting my work and the authenticity of my artistic journey. Ethan used his connections to clear my name, and his colleagues rallied behind us, denouncing the false claims. The support we received was overwhelming. Mia, ever the loyal friend, organized a small exhibition to showcase my latest works, further solidifying my reputation as a serious artist. Henry, too, played a crucial role, using his influence to spread positive word of mouth. Despite Samantha's attempts to sabotage us, our love and determination triumphed. The magazine feature was a resounding success, and my career began to flourish. Ethan and I emerged stronger, our bond unbreakable. One evening, as we celebrated the success of the feature with a quiet dinner at Ethan's apartment, he took my hand, a serious look in his eyes. Lily, we've been through so much together. I can't imagine my life without you. My heart swelled with emotion. I feel the same way, Ethan. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily, I love you more than words can express. Will you marry me? Tears filled my eyes as I looked at the beautiful ring. Yes, Ethan. Yes, I'll marry you. As he slipped the ring onto my finger, I felt an overwhelming sense of joy and hope for the future. We had faced numerous challenges, but our love had prevailed. Our journey had been filled with trials, but it had also brought us closer together, forging a bond that was stronger than ever. As we looked toward the future, I knew that whatever came our way, we would face it together, our love unwavering and true.